Revenge storyline added in post?
Yeah, 100% it was added in post. 100%.
Okay.
There's a clip of Jimmy in an interview with John Yushai or whatever, and he says, oh, this is why he got out. Or, I don't know, maybe he did get out just because he didn't know or he thought no one else stepped out, and like that's the truth of the matter.
This right here is the first instance where I think Dawson is making a gross interpretation of the situation, because he's claiming that the infamous showdown between 42 and 58 was actually created in post, aka the editing process, which technically everything's created in post unless you're doing a live stream. But Dawson says that 58 didn't hear 42 yell when he was going to leave his cube. I kind of find this hard to believe because I'm pretty sure MrBeast has film studio quality sets, so you should easily be able to hear a guy yelling in one of those open rooms.
I just bought this brand new studio and 100 acres of land around it.
Dawson makes it seem like MrBeast scripted this whole storyline, but I feel like any editor with basic storytelling knowledge could have created that whole dramatic sequence from the raw footage. My theory here is Dawson is putting a lot of weight on this claim based off the interview that he mentioned in the Oompaville video.
42 instantly yells, I'm leaving, no one step out, or you'll also get nothing. You know, everyone knew 42 was telling the truth when he stepped out, but 58 was like, I don't want him to walk away with 250K and sacrificed himself. Or, I mean, I'm speaking on his behalf. I don't know, maybe he just thought no one actually got out, but from what I can tell, I think he sacrificed himself to like screw him out of the money. And yeah, it was wild. I didn't know this happened. So when the timer hit 0, I thought like 42 had won. And I was like, wow.
Call me crazy, but MrBeast didn't really say anything weird there. I feel like any normal person would come to the conclusion that 58 wanted to screw over 42. Hell, I wanted to screw over 42, and I was watching a guy watch the video. And if you were to go to that video and read the top comments, I think a majority of the 206 million viewers would also agree. So I don't know what Dawson was trying to say here, because everything looks like it happened in real time, they just made it a focal point of the video. But if Dawson has proof that MrBeast like went back and reshot scenes to make that storyline, then that's a totally different story. Chucky also mentioned in his response that 58 and 42 just hated each other, and I could believe that after watching how bitter 42 was in this video.
Boxing match with 58, listen, I would knock his ass out, that's all it is.
For those of you that don't know, MrBeast actually brought both of these guys back for a short video, and 42 was still bitter, and 58 still tried to screw him.
Some hero.
So I totally believe that those guys kinda hated each other. For extra context, that short actually ends with 58 splitting money with 42, and according to his TikTok, it looks like they might be friends now? Also, according to one of 58's TikToks, he said that he was going to do a live stream to discuss everything, but I can't find that anywhere because TikTok sucks. Along with that video, Dawson also claimed that the wink that 58 did was fake. And I can totally believe why somebody would believe that because of MrBeast's freaking zoomer editing that overdoes everything.
Until the last decision was made before the clock started.
It looks, I won't lie, this is one of the claims that I actually really started to believe. Because if you slow down this wink, it looks like a lot of his face gets blurred because it's so smooth. But then I tested it for myself, and your face just does that. Also, the guy might just be a winker, kinda like some of those dudes that use finger guns all the time. So while editing this section, I noticed that Dawson actually responded to these claims on Twitter on top of doing the Oompaville video and specifically talked about the wink. It was, compare that wink to other contestants' winks in other scenes or on his TikTok. No disrespect to Dawson here, but this is kind of a dumb comment because you are assuming that everybody's wink is the same. And I know I did a wink earlier in this video and it was somewhat similar, but what do you do if somebody had nerve damage in their face? Their wink isn't going to be the same as a normal person. Dawson goes on to say, his mouth always partially opens. Here, that doesn't happen because in the original footage, it was a blink, altered to match the false revenge narrative. At this point, I think Dawson just needs to show some real evidence in regards to this because it just sounds like he's making stuff up. Because that comment about his mouth partially opening every time he winks is just false. If you go look at his TikTok, which Dawson mentioned, here is a video of him practicing his blinking with no mouth movement, and here is another video where his mouth partially opens when he blinks. But just to provide a little bit more evidence, wink 1, wink 2. Oh no, MrBeast faked my video. That's a joke, but I'm just trying to show how ridiculous that statement is. So yeah, it's really hard for me to believe Dawson on this particular claim until he shows me some real evidence. The most interesting claim that Dawson made about this video is in regards to the timers being altered, but it's not for the reasons you might think. You see, Dawson shows evidence that the contestant timers don't match up with the MrBeast timers. But if I'm being honest, I think that was just an editing choice. At 50 seconds, the timers do match up, but the dude has his hands on his hips like he's waiting around for a woman to ask him to dance. Unfortunately, that pose doesn't give off intense vibes, which is what they were going for in that scene. So one could assume that they just used a clip of him waiting from minutes before. That doesn't scream fake to me, it just seems like an editing choice. The guy still stepped out, the contestants had 10 minutes to make their decision, and this dude just got out really early and had to stand around for a while. Also, if you watch the video, MrBeast is doing an ad read at the time when this guy actually steps out of the box. So instead of messing up the ad read, they just made it seem like he came out a little later than he did. So yeah, technically they alter timers, but I don't really think it was that malicious or anything that I would be screaming that it's fake.